SmartPod Crash Cushion Repair Training. This video will provide step-by-step instructions for repairing an impacted SmartPod crash cushion. For additional details, download the installation manual from our website. Inspecting the SmartPod after impact. After an impact, perform a full evaluation of the system to determine the required replacement parts. Replace any parts that show signs of fatigue, bending, or other visible damage. All work should be performed with proper traffic control according to the agency guidelines. Loose or damaged foundation anchor bolts should be extracted and reinstalled. Repair after frontal impact. Attach a suitable chain with 2 hooks to the front bulkhead feet. Run the chains underneath the foot and attach the hook to the backside of the front 2 feet. Pull the first bulkhead forward to fully extend the unit. If accessible, panel side keepers and foot attachment hardware can be loosened to make the system easier to extend. Inspect the side panels. The side keepers and panel bolts, the bulkheads, the bulkhead feet including the rail attachment hardware, and the energy-absorbing pods. After an impact, some of the pods may be partially deformed. Do not reuse a pod that does not return to the original shape. To help determine if a pod needs to be replaced after an impact, locate the Impact Indicator tab on the backstop. If the pod casing located next to the tab is penetrated by the impact indicator, the pod should be replaced. Replace any damaged pods in their proper orientation. The side of the pod with the embossed text should be facing up. There are 4 Type 1 pods in the front and 3 Type 2 pods in the rear. Front, side, and rear panel replacement. Remove the pods adjacent to the area needing repair for better access. Side panels attached to the bulkheads at 4 points with a combination of bolts and side keepers. Depending on the side panels that needs to be replaced, remove the side keepers or bolts. The front side panel uses 2 hex bolts at bulkhead number 1 and front side keeper bolts with springs at bulkhead number 2. Mid and rear side panels are attached with a combination of side keepers. The rear side panel uses a combination of mid and rear side keepers. Depending on the side panel that needs repair, remove the side keepers or bolts. Remove and replace the damaged panel, making sure that the panels are overlapped correctly. Ensure that the tapered panel edge is positioned to the rear of the SmartPod and is outside of the panel behind it. Install the hex bolts, nuts, washers, and appropriate side keeper bolts. The front side keeper bolts have a spring on the backside. Align the panels with the front side keeper flanges to assure they are not in a bind when tightened. When reinstalling side keepers, make sure that they are fully seated into the panel slot. The front panel side keeper bolt has a spring between the washer and bulkhead number 2. Apply Loctite Thread Locker Blue 242 and tighten the nut until the gap between the washer and bulkhead 1 measures 1 13/16 inches. The inner panel is tightened against the frame, while the outer panel slides freely in the panel slot. Reattach the front delineator panel and replace any pods, making sure that they're in the proper orientation. Mid, rear, and standard bolts should be torqued to 200 foot-pounds. Bulkhead replacement. A unique feature of the SmartPod is the reverse taper design that allows the system to stack together with minimal interference between the side panels. To accomplish this, the bulkheads are slightly wider at the front of the system and narrower at the back. there are 7 bulkheads in a Test Level 3 system, as well as the backstop at the rear. Reference the stamp on the back side of the top of each bulkhead, identifying the location and orientation. Remove the hex nuts and washers on all relevant sidekeeper bolts. After removing the sidekeeper bolts, pull the panels outward for access. Remove the 2 bolts that attach each of the bulkhead feet to the base rail. Remove the bulkhead feet on both sides. Remove and replace the damaged bulkhead, using the number on the top rear of the bulkhead for the correct orientation. Replace the bulkhead feet and side guide bolts and torque all nuts to 280 foot-pounds. Reattach the side panels with the appropriate sidekeeper bolts, washers, and hex nuts. Torque the hex bolts and sidekeeper bolts to 200 foot-pounds, except for the side front keeper bolts with springs on bulkhead 2. Inspect the side panels to ensure they are overlapping correctly, and the sidekeeper shoulders are in the correct orientation and fully seated in the panel slot. Backstop replacement. Damage to the backstop assembly is typically the result of a severe impact. If the backstop shows signs of damage, consult with Hill & Smith Applications Engineering for evaluation and repair guidance. Periodic maintenance. Maintenance is agency and site dependent. Significant accumulation of dirt, mud, or any debris may impede the system performance. Debris removal should be performed as needed, inside and around the system. If the locations are prone to heavy rain and mud runoff, more frequent cleaning may be required. For more detailed information and drawings, download the Installation Maintenance Design Manual at www.hillandsmith.com. Travel safe. Work connected.